Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Making a small trade recap about positions a few weeks ago, I believe, and I was already trying to do this, but yeah, just managed to do today. So I'm also planning to do a few more in the near future. So I hope you like it. So regarding this trade. The 4 hour for me, I focus on the big swings in price. So for me, this is the swing high and this is the swing low. I don't count pips, but it's up to you. If you are in the beginning and you want a more mechanical approach, definitely recommend doing that. Just with time, you start seeing what works for you, and yeah, you just gravitate towards that. So for me, I'm happy with the big swings in price. So at this stage, this was around London session when I wake up. So I was well aware that we never reach the EQ, we never reach the premium prices. If you focus on the high and the low, we never reach premium prices, which means that for me, a chalk here, yes, I can take sells. I'm super interested in taking sells, but especially when we reach extreme demand, where we tend to have unfavorable price action, I'm aware that maybe this change of character can be used just to mitigate something here, and when this is done and we start seeing bullish order flow, maybe it's time to take out the high. So that was what I have in mind. But of course, for example, here when you have a 4 hour change of character, for me this is just a pullback to mitigate something here to then move to the downside. So I'm looking for sells here. I'm not looking for buys, but when I see this supply that was holding price and was holding the bearish order flow gets taken out after a week break, after I seen this supply that was holding order flow bearish getting run, for me instantly this high is weak. This high is getting run straight away for me, because if you put everything together and you know that's the high and this is the low one, never reach premium. A lot of the times these change of characters and shifts in order flow can be used just to make deeper mitigation. So even though we have some kind of protected highs and lows because they are formed through sweep of liquidity, they are not formed like something like this when you have tons of liquidity above. They are formed through sweeps, so it holds more weight. But for me, structure is king. So after seeing this supply getting run, this level getting run, for me the high was weak straight away. So our time frame bias for me is taking longs, targeting the weak high. So I don't want to get involved from weak legs, like I said, unless we have our time frame logic behind. And for me, that time frame logic behind is playing the pullback back to premium, or at least EQ. So I don't have our time frame logic behind taking sells here, and because this is weak, I'm just taking longs, targeting this one. So coming to the London session, I have something like this, just indicating this is weak. Just a minute. For me this is weak, and then going to the M15, what we have in M15, we have a pulse bullish here and another one. So we have a higher low confirm, bullish order flow confirm. So after we reach the, let me put here the premium discount, after we reach something on discount, this is the extreme range at discount that gets mitigated. I was sleeping at this point, but I probably would be looking for longs, because we already know the item frame logic behind is getting this high, taking out the high. Sorry. So after at this point, we then speed up a little bit. we clear like we have a change of character at this stage, and we clear this supply range. So imagine this is a supply, right? This supply was taken out. So for me, straight away, the high is weak. So for me, straight away, this high is weak. I'm a little bit more aggressive. So, and looking back, personally, it's not a trade I want to take again. So I will go through the trade, but it's not something I'm inclined to take again, to be honest, because it's a little bit low probability. Knowing all the time frame bias, all the time frame structure analysis, all that stuff, I'm just expecting long, especially with M15 bullish. So I just a case of following the ranges. So at this point, after this change of character and this supply, the major supply getting taken out, and knowing the high is weak, ideally I just won't take longs. But what we have after a change of character, after the M15 change of character, we tend to have M15 pullback, right? After the 4-hour change of character, we have a 4-hour pullback. So I was interested in taking the short-term sell and then a long-term buy or medium-term buy. So let's go through it on an M1 after this change of character and clear the after taking out the supply. This okay, London session. I'm in front of the computer, and at this stage, sorry, I was a little bit quick. At this stage, after the change of character, I was expecting a M15 pullback to play the pullback to then take the long. So after this sweep of liquidity, what you have for me, if you look closely, you have a price tries to move down, move up, and then goes to the downside. For me, this is a flip. It's a little bit more difficult to see, but if you read the wicks, price went to the upside, went down, went up, and then went down again. So for me, this is a nice flip. And I use fractional refinements, so just to be aware on M15, if you want to be a little bit more clear, you can see that move up, down, up, down, up, down, and we sweep liquidity. I'm aggressive with this. Not everyone likes it, but it works for me. So okay, so I'm expecting a pullback to the downside. However, I will only get involved in the sell here if we reach this area first. So what I mean by that is if price moves to the downside, reach a good area of value to looking for buys, and then pops to the upside, I personally not get involved because the objective that I was trying to play at this point is the pullback. So when price moves to the upside, the pullback would be already done. So at this point, I'm not interested in taking the sell. This is just something to be aware is where price came from and what price mitigated, because it's crucial to see, because if we come here to the, for example, discount or M15 POI and then pop to the upside, this objective of the pullback was already done. When you're moving up, this is like to get run. So at this point, I was aware that I want to take a sell. Okay, so in terms of the entries, I'll be completely honest, I use the seconds time frames, so I'll not go over it because maybe can create a confusion for you guys. So I will just, because it's visible on M1, right? So you can enter whatever you like. I use an average 1.2 pips stop loss, and I'm happy to get involved. So, okay. Where is my target? I go to M15. I'm aware this is just a pullback, right? For me, I use ranges to justify flips. So if I put here, for example, this entire supply, we have a move up and we have a move down. So at this stage, for me, it's a clear flip. This is unmitigated. As you can see, this range was never mitigated. So for me, this is a clean target to play the pullback. And yeah, if you want to refine a little bit, you know that this is the area. You can take it something like this on the low time frames. Like you can put like here. I just use a fixed NR at this point and leave the rest 25% running. So that was the idea. Okay, this is done. And now, okay, I'm expecting a higher low from here because, as I already said to you, the M15i, this high, was weak. The supply was holding price, was run, so was taken out. For me, demand took over and the high is technically weak, so I'm just expecting to buy from it. And again, this sell, not something I personally want to take again, because for me it's low probability, just a very in and out trade. Yeah, it worked out this time, but to be honest, I prefer to stick to probability ones. But it makes sense, so yeah, I decided to share with you. After the change of character here, I'm expecting to get involved on the long. So again, what you have this clean flip. It's a little bit more aggressive on M1, but like I said, I use the second time frame, so for me it's fine. But if you are using M1, maybe you don't want to take this trade on. It's entirely on you. So at this point, for me it was super high probability taking the long, because we not only have the change of character and the flip, but we also have equal highs to target. So the fact that we have something to target increase massively the probability. So for me, again, I use 1.2 and I get involved here. This was another nice trade. Everything was going down from the 4 hour to the 15. So then like I have 25% running, so I divide that into trades, into profits. I have something like here, and then keep going to the upside with less percentage. But the main part is the 10R for me. And what about now? So after the high getting run, after this high that was weak, was getting run, and we reach this 4 hour supply, because it's from a weak leg. I personally not super interested in taking the sell. If you take the sell, like it's not the end of the world, but be aware that it's just a quick trade. On F15, okay, at this point in time, again, what you have, we have a boss, and you have this POI, and you have this POI. Okay, which one will work? I mean, both are valid. You can take trades from both of them. I personally just took the extreme, but to be honest, this was a mistrade, because it was very, very valid. I know a few of you took it, but I was just doing other stuff and was not even in front of the computer. But because after these two trades, to be honest, I was a little bit distracted. But going forward, we have a nice trade that usually probably will end up in the break even. We have a change of character and you get involved in the extreme. And I will just put here for you. That was a nice trade as well. I personally used the second, so I will have to go to the seconds to confirm this, but let's put 2 pip stop loss. That's more than enough. This will be a break even, of course. Okay, and at this stage, let me just put something like this. Okay, at this stage, what you have, we know the 4 hour high is weak, right? And we are M15 bullish. So at this point, I'm just looking for longs, because the high time frame indicates me to that this high will get run, and M15 is bullish, so I'm not interested in taking any sells unless when you have an M15 boss. After the M15 boss bearish at this stage, yes, we can assume that probably the 4-hour will pull back, and after the 4-hour pullback, I then wait again for M15 boss or M15 choke, and then get involved on the longs again. But until M15 boss bearish, I'm not expecting any sells. So after coming to the extreme, and I'm always more aggressive in extremes, so because extremes or it hold and actually it gets respected or it doesn't. So a lot of times we have big reactions at the extreme, so I'm happy to be more aggressive. And on M1, again, it's probably not something according to our plan, but maybe you want to consider going forward. So at this point in time, the change of character is up here, right? So I'm not interested in waiting for the change of character at this point, knowing that we reached the extreme, and this is the last area that will hold unless M15 boss bearish and then have a 4-hour pullback. So for me, an override and something that I have specific on my trading plan, and I have data to support this decision, but do it by yourself first and believe it after seeing that multiple times. That I'm happy to take it based on a sub boss, especially because if I take a trade based on a sub boss, what I mean by sub boss is not a term that I forget. This is not a term we use to talk anymore, but it's basically just internal breakout structure. I didn't realize we don't talk about that anymore, but it's about internal structure. So, for example, at this point, okay, at this point in time, I know that it's very likely for price to mitigate this area. So, if I put something like here, it's very likely that actually price will even run this supply, because if you look, this is a really strong straight push down, no inducement in the leg, right? We have equal highs, so I personally not even consider looking for sells unless I have M15 confirmation entry, because we have M15 bullish, we have equal highs, no inducement, straight push down. This one for me tends to fail a lot, so it's more a case of, can I get involved here, and if price reach here, I'm risk free. So yes, I could. So this is something you need to test. But after this internal breakout structure, this was something I was happy to get involved at this point in time. So, and again, I use 1.2. So I know this can be a little bit difficult to understand, but on this, because I use the seconds time frames and I'm not going here down to the seconds, actually it's quite safe. It's not something like put 1.2 here and hoping it will work out. But yeah, you then have to, I use a fixed 10R to remove majority of my position. So I'm happy to take the trade, and if price rejects from this area, I'm risk free anyways. So okay, this was a little bit corrective and then end up moving to the upside. And like you see, this high was not respected. So yeah, after I didn't took any more trades because it was end of the session, and yeah, after the high gets taken out, after the supply that was holding the order flow gets taken out, the internal order flow, the supply gets taken out. For me, the high is weak, so you have all the criteria to get involved in taking loans. And yeah, this is a trade recap about this London session, 17th of March.